Welcome back. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to draw the isometric view of the saddle bracket drawing. I have the 3D object here. This view right here is the isometric view that we need to draw, and we need to locate it here within our working space. Now our working space is defined by the area inside of the border lines. So above the title block, that top line on the title block is a border line. So we're going to be working within those border lines. We call that the working space. Your instructions tell you to measure 5 inches away from the right-hand border line. So I'm going to make a measurement of 5 inches horizontally. And the instructions say to measure from the top border line down 6 inches. So I make that measurement and make that mark. That will be my starting point for my isometric view. For this drawing, every line, with the exception of the lines that create the circle, are going to be drawn at a 30-degree angle. So every line is going to come from this 30-degree angled line. Now, I'm not going to use this sketch to define how big each line is on this isometric. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to take every measurement right from my front, my top, and my right side view. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a measurement for this section right here. Well, that measurement from my drawing is 2 inches. So I'm going to mark off at 2 inches. I'm going to make another measurement for the overall length, which is 4.5 inches. So I'm going to mark that off at 4.5 inches. So now I'm going to have a vertical line here and a vertical line here. I'm drawing these very lightly right now. Now for this front part, and I'm going to show you right here, to get to this point, well, I need the length of this line and the length of that line there. I can measure those either from my right side view or from the top view. It doesn't matter which view I use, but I could make those measurements right from there. So I'm going to measure directly from my right side view 1 inch and then another 1/2 inch, and I'm going to finish at 2.5. So I have 1 inch and then another 1/2 inch, and then it's going to go all the way to 2.5 inches for that line. So these lines, I'm going to do a little erasing here to make a little bit of room for my drawing. You can leave your guidelines here. Those projection lines, they do not need to be erased. But I'm erasing them a little bit here for the sake of this video to show that I'm going to draw those lines in there, and I'm going to have another vertical line right here. So all I'm doing is taking these measurements directly from these views. So now I need the height. Well, any one of these two front views, or the front or the right side view. I know that distance is 2 inches. So I'm going to make a measurement right here at this line at 2 inches. And that's going to define this line here. It's going to define this line right here. Which will define this line. And then this line here. So now what I have to do is I have to identify these points to finish this top part. That'll go relatively fast, but I do want to draw a line here so that I can make the measurement for these pieces here and here. I'm going to do that by measuring this top view. So I'm going to make a measurement here. I'll just keep this like it's 1/2 inch, and then it ends at 2.5, and it comes back 1/2. So you can make those measurements directly from that top view. So here's where it ends at 2.5, and it goes 1/2, and then another one. So those lines now are going to identify this view. I'm going to draw a few lines in lightly to get started. Whoops, to get started here. And then to make this all just happen, I'm going to draw a light line here. Now I'm drawing these lines pretty lightly, so let me zoom in a little bit. But once I've developed those measurements from my orthographic projection, I now know all of the lines or measurement that I need to create this drawing. I'm going to make a measurement here. Okay, so how would I know then how thick this portion is right here? It's this portion right here. How thick is that? Well, I can take a look right on this drawing and I can measure that, and that measures out as at 1/2 of an inch. So I went ahead and made a measurement there at 1/2 of an inch. I set that measurement out. I'm going to lightly draw a line in so that I will know where it converges, and I can heavy in a line right there. I now know where I can heavy in that line. Okay, now there's a couple of lines missing, and I'm going to heavy in now all of the vertical lines. Because I'm right-handed, my pencil is on the right, my triangle or my straight edge is on the left. I'm going to start at the furthest right-hand line, and I'm going to heavy that in. I'm going to work my way to the left, heavying in, or darkening, if you want to say it that way, each and every vertical line. So when I'm moving across here, I'm not sliding the triangle over the drawing, smearing the graphite. So I'm going to heavy in every vertical line. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing with all the lines that are working basically in this direction that you see me working right now. Got one more line to do here. It looks like I have a couple lines here on the bottom to darken in, or heavy in, thick. And then I'm going to turn the triangle over, work from the top down in this direction here. Now, that isometric view is done, it's complete, with the exception of this hole right here. Whenever we draw a hole or an ellipse or a radius or a curve, we need to identify the center point. Well, the center point can be identified from this front view down here. You can look directly at this front view and make your measurement. And I remember measuring 1 inch over and 1 inch up. Because all these lines are on the grid, they're all true length. So I can measure up 1 inch and over 1 inch. And I'm going to lightly draw in some center lines so that I can draw in an ellipse. Now, at this point, we've discussed this already, this circle has a diameter of 1 inch. That means that the circle or the ellipse is going to cross these x and y coordinates 1/2 of an inch away from the center. So I'm going to go ahead and make measurement on my drawing that shows where this ellipse is going to cross. Now, the way you're going to draw this ellipse at home, you're going to use the ellipse template I supplied to you. You're going to find the 1 inch ellipse, and then you're going to compare that to the sketch. You're going to rotate this until your ellipse is in the same direction as the sketch is. And here's a hint. Do you see this X coordinate right here going across. Well, that's this line right here. You have to rotate it and work it a little bit. If you want to, you can even put these larger ellipses and line it up on your screen so you know which direction. Now you're going to trace this ellipse onto your drawing by removing tape just like you did the circle in the last video. So you're going to slide that underneath there to where the 1-inch template goes directly under. It looks like I'm going to have to remove the tape on this upper corner too. So where that tape or that ellipse goes directly underneath, it's going to line up with those 4 measurements you made, and now you can trace that ellipse. Now I know that's not going to be perfect, but at least that's really, really close. Now, if you were in class, we would be able to use what's called an ellipse template. You would rotate the ellipse template to fit, line it up with the X and Y coordinates, and trace that ellipse template. But that's okay. We don't need to use this. We can trace the one I gave you. Okay? So then, this is what the completed drawing should look like. Let me move this out of the way, and I'll put this in your view so you can see. There is the orthographic projection, which is the 3 views, as well as the isometric view of this drawing.